You have, I got to say, can I pick on you like every other episode?
Yeah, let's start something new.
Are we doing the thing right now?
I don't.
We've started already.
Oh.
You sabotage your
great.
overall diet goals with soda so unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Why? That's the easiest thing to cut out and just get used to a diet soda, and it saves you just hundreds of calories.
I know. So
You're a fit guy.
Well, a lot of people, a lot of people, they've been like, oh my gosh, how do you stay so fit? I'm like, please stop. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not an influencer. But if you want to follow my fitness Instagram, I'm kidding. No, but I am probably 4 weeks since I've had any type of anything other than water. Yeah, really anything other than water. No soda at all of any type.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm like 4 weeks in on
Well, I
it.
know you run a lot. I'm just thinking like, dude, if you would cut out the soda, you could run a fourth as much and probably have the same net.
We've talked about
calorie
this
burn
though
here.
before. I don't have a lot of vices in life. And one thing that I truly enjoy is Pepsi.
You know what? I actually am down with that.
Yeah.
As one of my quotes I pulled out sometimes from Mark Twain. There was this old lady, never smoked a day in her life, never drank a day in her life, no vices. And then she got a little bit older and she got really, really sick and she was doomed. There was nothing that she could cut out of her life to improve.
Yeah.
That was just the end of it.
I have always felt like if I feel like I'm a little overweight, at least I could cut Pepsi out and solve that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
You always
do.
have that in the back pocket.
That's right. But if I'm
there.
on, water and air diet and I don't have much left to cut, like this is me. I'm going to be a polar bear.
How'd you get on a Pepsi train instead of Coca-Cola, being a Southern leaning guy?
well,
Down there in Tennessee's your people
Right.
and whatnot.
Well,
Your people.
yeah. So the G&J Pepsi Bottling Company is in Franklin Furnace, Ohio, where I went to school.
Huh.
And Pepsi sponsored everything.
Oh.
And so we only had Pepsi at school. The local gas station pretty much exclusively sold Pepsi. And my dad was a Pepsi fan. And so it was a lot of people I went to school with, their parents worked at Pepsi. I worked at Pepsi.
Big part of the community,
Yeah,
and they supported it.
Exactly, which is why, again, thinking about village caregiving, that's why we're on the back of every kid's jersey. That's why we're on everything.
That was like a way more legit answer than I thought you were about to give.
Yeah, that and it's delicious.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
It does. I rest any argument. I mean, you can't compete with that. It was from birth, basically.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. So
I'd be mad if you didn't drink Pepsi.
Yeah.
My mother couldn't nurse, and all we had was Pepsi.
that explains a lot.
I'm not going there.
Sorry, Brenda. Hey, Will, welcome to your first video podcast,
Oh,
man.
hey, it's good to be here.
Yeah, woo!
Thanks.
Will Sheils in the building. Will, I want to welcome you in. I want to make this formal and I want to make it kind, but more than anything, I want to hold Jeff Stevens accountable to a promise that he made on this podcast not long ago.
Oh, I don't know what it is.
I don't either.
Yeah, well, you referenced it a minute ago.
Oh,
when the
maybe I did.
Cleveland team was in town, they sat there and here, and they said that they wanted to buy a box suite at the Cleveland Browns Stadium.
Yeah.
And your commitment was that if the Cleveland Browns did what?
Win the Super Bowl.
If the Cleveland Browns win a Super Bowl, you would buy a box suite at the Cleveland Stadium.
I didn't say win a Super Bowl. I said win the Super Bowl, implying it must happen this season.
Well, I don't think it could happen any other season than this year. Boy, have things turned around for us.
8-5?
Yeah, and they have three of their next games are home games. 3 out of 5 of their next games are home games. They are 5-1 at home. They have Big Joe out of retirement, just throwing missiles down the field. They look wonderful.
They do look good. They look genuinely really good. To have not had Watson stay healthy and Chubb's horrific injury there to start the season, it really is crazy how good they are.
The Lord is shining on Cleveland.
I don't mean to be a damper on this whole thing, and I didn't know this was going to turn into a sports podcast, but I just saw their starting left tackle just had season-ending surgery too.
That's
The injuries
okay.
just keep piling up.
If we know
Luck's
anything,
going to run out, I think.
Yeah,
eventually.
no.
Who is that?
His name is Jedrick Wills. He's a
Wills, yeah.
big guy.
Left tackle's the most important position on the line, they say.
Yeah.
I want Cleveland to know that I'm available. Put me left tackle.
Wouldn't that be great to watch?
God. Just
Not even just you, any of us. That I bet it would look so It would be the most
Could they
entertaining thing you could ever watch.
If they didn't mic me up, could they hear me cry?
the big boom over the whole game.
Just sobbing, laying there. Game hasn't even started. We're just warming up. No, but I've sent you several listings of how to go about registering to get that box suite. I'm proclaiming it. So go ahead. I don't know if you want to make the check out to me, and I'll pay however you want to do it, but let's go ahead and get that done. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
You want to know how you can know for sure if you really like somebody or not?
Yes.
About to pay him a big compliment here.
Okay.
Whenever you watch their team, so lately this year, when last month or so, and I see the Browns on TV, you ever have this thing, you don't ever admit it out loud, but if you kind of don't really like the person all that much, you kind of root against their team a
Happy
little
when
bit.
they lose a little bit
a little
inside.
schadenfreude slips in.
Wow.
Whenever I watched the Browns lately, and I felt this way, they played the Jags last week, I was rooting for them like I was in the Guston house, man.
Yeah.
I've picked up a fandom of them just because of you.
Well,
And then the Cleveland Crew's real cool too.
yeah, you want them to win. I mean, they just.
I know that's true. If you are a Browns hater, unless you're like right in the NFC or AFC North, I guess.
Yeah, if you're from Pittsburgh, I get it. But outside of that,
you just are a cold-hearted human.
there's some countries you just don't root against. You know what I mean? And Cleveland Browns is that way. They've been through enough.
The country of Cleveland has had enough.
They're sort of a Jamaican bobsled.
Yeah,
team.
you're like, no, not another tragedy. You know. So that's where I am with it. It's gonna be a great story when they win that. And then we're going to invite everyone up. Did you say you was just getting everyone could come up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got to win the Super Bowl.
I wanted to keep committing to all these things. Well, I'm excited. Will, let's formally welcome to the podcast.
Okay.
Thanks. He said,
Thanks.
okay.
I don't know how anything could be formal. You know,
It's halfway
what
over,
we're doing
by
right
the
now.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, Will, how have you been, man?
I've been good, man. It's been, a great few months. We moved back in early August, got married in September, went on honeymoon. Obviously, this role has, been the catalyst for all, at least a lot of those changes in coming back to the area, and just getting to spend a lot more time around a great group of people. So, yeah, every day's good right now.
Well, awesome. Well, so for those that didn't watch the early days, the audio only version of the podcast, let's tell us who you are. You're at Village Caregiving. What do you do here?
Yeah, so I am a regional vice president of operations. Our region is Region 4, Wisconsin, Indiana, South Dakota. So I have 8 offices there. Great groups, largely great teams too. 7 of the 8 have a director or a nurse, and just getting to interact with those offices daily is special, and just getting to know their dynamics and the challenges they face and at their level day to day. So that's my role in what I'm doing here. Guess more broadly, I grew up in the area, Huntington, Barbersville, and went to local schools, went to Marshall for college, stayed an extra year doing an MBA. So at the same time I was working at the university, spent about 2.5 years there working in economic research. And then my wife, Adria, who, was on the podcast not long ago, if you've seen it, got an offer to do an ICU job in Columbus. So on the same day we got engaged. So it was a big day, kind of a formative day. We were out in Colorado on spring break, skiing, hiking, all that stuff, and proposed. 3 hours later, she gets the call for the job. So we're basically just setting in motion a bunch of life stuff that day.
How'd you propose?
We went on a hike. We had a friend who moved there to become a ski instructor. So he knew good local hikes. He knew, good places to go to eat and all this stuff. And he also was a wildlife photographer. So we thought, well, he could probably help us, So I coordinated with him. I got in touch with him on social media, reached out. So we coordinated, kind of choreographed a spot for him to be on the hike. He even passed us while we were walking, but he had a hood up. He had glasses, toboggan, and it was just a funny thing. So he got set up out there, and so we had this nice overlook in the backdrop, and just
Did
found a
Adria
place.
suspect that you were about to propose?
She did not. She thought that she would know, like, because we had talked about it pretty openly, like we wanted to get engaged. It wasn't like a big surprise, but at the same time, I wanted to have those elements of surprise to it. So I didn't tell her, there were a couple times she came over to my apartment where I was living at the time and would reach.
You were down on one knee.
We actually had a Valentine's Day where I had this map that I got her of all the places we traveled. Mm-hmm. So you put little pins in it. You can just kind of dot it as you go. And I reached under the couch because it was big. I had nowhere else in my apartment to put it. And I reached under my couch. She thought I was getting ready to engage or propose at the apartment. And that was like a month before this. So after the false alarm of that, she was like, I think her senses on it were down a little bit. And
well, I can
so
tell you what,
suspecting.
I'll bet you felt like after that little snafu, you were on the clock. You better get on that.
I did. And it was like right around the time I was getting the ring picked out and ordering everything. So
did you feel like every time you bent down to tie your shoes, she thought this is the moment?
I made sure my shoes were tied. Yeah. I wasn't getting caught in the mall or anything like that.
Sure.
Oh shoot, that would be a terrible place to propose, by the way.
Right there at the fountain at the mall.
Food court.
This is where mom and dad got engaged.
Yeah. Big loafer.
So part of the surprise was it sounded like you were going to have her kidnapped. Your friend was there.
Oh, yeah.
Sounded like he maybe mailed devices out or whatever. He had a hoodie, sunglasses. He snuck through the woods taking pictures of wild animals. And you thought, this guy will know a safe place to propose.
Yeah.
Everywhere he goes is wild animals, though. You weren't concerned that he would put you... Because what a photographic memory that would be. Just as you're proposing, the grizzly bear passes through. Wouldn't that be something... Well, anyways, I was just thinking, this guy had some very specific skill sets. He got Liam Neeson to photograph their engagement.
He does sound like a cool guy.
Yeah, it's a great guy. Let's get him on.
Cool guy.
What's his name?
His name's Simon.
Simon.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good name.
Simon, if you're in the area, we have mountains, wild animals. You can ski at Beckley, whatever you want to do.
Yeah,
Come in town, Simon.
Beckley and Vail, Colorado, there's really no difference.
A lot of people say they're very similar.
Most famous Simon all time.
Garfunkel.
Simon and Garfunkel. That's
Cow.
up there.
Simon Cow.
Simon Cowell.
About Simon from the Bible.
Says.
Simon Says.
I was going to say Simon Cowell too. Simon Says is good.
But you got to consider how worldwide is Simon Says. This is famous worldwide.
Simon.
The game Simon.
Never heard of it.
Okay, that's not.
I'm not getting any better Simons than what we've already.
Yeah, Simon
proposed.
from the Bible. That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
That's got to be up there.
That's a pretty well-published book, so probably so. I don't know how Simon translates, though, to other countries. So, I don't know.
Simon.
Something to think about.
Yeah.
So Adria has come on the podcast. Since you came in, I mean, you've probably noticed a big difference since your early episode on the podcast, just how much more professional Jeff and I are in this role. I mean, you really met us back in the early days when we were just getting into the biz. But since then, I mean, we've been recognized. They've tried to have us out in Hollywood. Several agents have reached out.
He's offered for me to become his handler on the side. I mean,
yeah.
I don't really know what that means, but
he's always talking about paparazzi and he can't go anywhere.
I usually have him go downstairs and clear the sidewalk before I go to my vehicle at night because I don't want, just the. I don't understand.
Let me ask you a serious question.
Yeah,
here we go.
I actually found myself thinking about this just the other day.
Okay.
Half jokingly and half kind of curiously wondering, do you think we've gotten better at this in the last year or worse or the same?
I don't think we've gotten worse at it because boy, did we have a long way to go up is what I'm going to say. Our starting point was where it was really an entry level position is where I would put that at. I can't imagine we've gotten worse.
But you kind of came out the gates too. Like it was solid from the beginning. It wasn't like, oh man, this doesn't sound like some
Well, this isn't going to impact
thing.
your pay at all. So
I
don't
don't
have to.
know.
There's no reason to do this.
Well,
this happens often. I
You've
can't
done TED
just
Talks
say
before.
something nice. It's really tough.
I've gone back once or twice and listened to, say, like your episode, which was like the third one we ever did, right? Which was really great. It still is one of my favorite ones to listen to because it was just so interesting. And I get to hear all about your family and traditions and how you were a Jaeger scholar and all that stuff. You told me once that you were kind of unsure about a few of your comments on there. Is that true?
Yeah.
But they were great. You were being self-conscious about it. But anyways, I don't listen to any of those. That's the first time in months I've done that. No, I don't ever listen back to it and feel embarrassed of it, which is what you would feel, I think, if it was really bad. Or we just haven't even got any better at all, and so I don't know any better.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's let that one roll around with Simon in your mind.
Yeah, I'm still on it. Well, man, so since you were on last, you've worked yourself into, now we've divided the regions up. When you first came down, we were still kind of in the early stages of what that looks like. We're getting ready to launch into this new year. We just got back from Nashville not long ago for the annual meeting. Let's talk about that. What's your thoughts on the annual meeting this year? This was your second one. You were in Cincinnati last year, Nashville this year. What's the highlights from that event for you?
Well, you guys can speak to the perspective of this, I think, having been here, obviously, several more years and since day one, but going into that room, the cocktail room, first night you're there, day one of everything, you're seeing all these new faces. First year, it can be overwhelming. At the time last year, there were, I don't know, maybe 90 or so people in that room. I had talked to or communicated with maybe 15 or 20 of those people. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to digest when you feel like it's such a thriving and positive place to be, and you're just wanting to just get rooted into the company and kind of find your footing with it. This year, we have maybe twice as many people in that room, but just having spent, the past year largely working with your department and, in the last 4 or 5 months being in the home office a lot more, I feel like I've established a lot more relationships. I feel like that it's just easier to strike up a conversation. What village caregiving is. You just have the scope of what it is that we do, what people are up to on the ground floor of the operation basically every day. So from my personal point of view, I enjoyed that night, that first night, just kind of that mingling, that get to know you, that making those connections with a lot more people. You just have a lot more confidence in that setting. More broadly for the meeting, I think a lot of the same takeaways that most people would share. Obviously, recognizing the 3 caregivers on stage was a tremendous time, reflecting on the purpose of what we're doing. The meeting itself the next day, a lot of fun. I think a lot of people drew a ton of inspiration from your panel with Brad Gilbert, just to instill that mindset or renew that mindset of, what can I do to win today? It's not about 10 years from now. You got to set that goal on paper, but then you have to, walk the talk and stay on track to that every day. So there was a lot of good stuff just from the whole thing. A lot of bonding opportunities, a lot of chance to deepen those connections with people you may only talk to on the phone or send an email to every once in a while. So that's the cool thing about it. We're also spread out now, that to get everybody together in one place is a unique thing, and we can't take that for granted.
With 8 offices in your region 4, were you able to actually intentionally go around and make sure you had a connection with each one of them?
Yeah, that was a big thing in the back of my mind as I would start around that room, is just make sure I talk to everybody, make sure everybody knows sincerely that I am proud to work for them or be their vessel or their through point to the home office for whatever they need. I have a great group of people to work with and answer the phone for and direct traffic for whatever the needs are. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of check in with everybody at that time and recognize several of them that, won awards for excelling in all different ways to make village caregiving, the best it could be in 2023. And we look forward to another great year.
I think it was, I think it was a real insightful thing when you decided to have all the regions stay, like in Region 4, they stayed in 2 adjoining rooms together. That's a real team building moment. A lot of people thought it was just to save money, but making all those folks who really didn't know each other stay in the same rooms and stuff with Will, I thought it was interesting.
It's a move.
Yeah. We had 157 people there. We had 7 rooms. So a lot of double bumping.
Doing the numbers on that, ratio's not looking too good.
What's 157 divided by 7?
22 and 3/7.
There you go.
Yeah, this is fun for me. I'll sit between these two guys. They'll do numbers. I just tell the jokes. So, but no. It was to those that are fearful of coming to their first annual meeting next year. We did not make people get adjoining rooms. We just rented RVs and they all stayed in those. No, but
I can tell. Look back, rewind the tape. I can always see when he's about to not be serious, when he's setting it up. Have you got?
We did not make people get adjoining rooms. We just rented RVs and they all stayed in those.
Out there
I was
with
in
him
the
yet?
yes, I was in the audience for an episode that was just recorded, and I could tell it was getting ready to happen. Like
That thing right there that he just said
It's
about
like a
the
little
rooms,
reset
if you
thing.
watch, it's totally serious,
There's
his
a thing
voice, but
there.
there's some twinkle in his eyes.
Yes.
And you'll see me.
you can see it.
You can watch the footage back. Swipe a little bit left on the YouTube thing.
I get to see it
I
all
go,
the time.
But you know what's really funny? There was one time in the executive meeting on Monday morning
Yeah.
that I saw that. And I knew something was coming, and I was like, Then it turned out to be serious. I misjudged one first time it's ever happened. You weren't doing it.
What if
or
it-
you course corrected.
Yeah, I may have course, because sometimes I'll sit in those meetings. I'm like, God, this is
I
not a
would love to say
podcast.
something.
I can't. If I say this, they're going to ask me to leave. So.
But I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
It's-
you can see it.
You can almost feel there's a silence in the room that's about to get attacked with something that's just really cutting and hilarious. So
Well,
I'm starting to believe in things like that even being another sense. Energy, pick up on energy and stuff. We've talked
feel
about
it in
this.
the room.
yeah. Well, so right now you're spending your days bunking up with Chris Atkins at the office, right? You and Chris are sharing an office right now. It's a big space. I mean,
It is.
you guys aren't sharing a desk, but you guys are in one of the rooms there in the operations, as we call the loft.
Yeah.
Right. And how is Chris as a roommate?
Chris is great. He brings an energy to work every day that I don't think I would have naturally, that I need sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would describe myself as a low energy person, but I'm maybe a little bit flatter in terms of that, like day to day, kind of just that constant go about things same way and all that. But Chris is a morning person. So every day I come in and he's in a good mood and he's ready to attack whatever's, on the agenda for the day. And that's contagious. That spreads throughout the room. I've learned a lot and adopted a lot of those habits, principles, just from working with him and you guys as well. So I enjoy working with him a lot. And it's every day is full of life and energy.
Yeah.
He's an entertaining guy
He's
to work
hilarious.
next to, I bet. In addition, I want to be serious. He is tremendously excellent at his job.
Yeah.
But he's an interesting guy. What you're learning is probably to crank that space heater up until it's about 93 degrees in the room. Eat all of the apple. This is where we get all of this
Hey,
stuff from.
I
Chris will
think-
bring all kinds of ideas to the table.
I think that's part of why we're in the same room. I can, I run cold. So
Really?
if we put Tony in there, for instance, it
Yeah.
would be like a little civil war every day, a little Hatfield McCoy over the temperature of the room. So
Well, the old building where I'm at, and especially down that hall to my office, it is freezing cold. So I can come over to your guys' office and sit there, and it takes a good half an hour before I mind how hot it is. That's truth. It feels
exactly.
excellent.
It is. I mean, obviously there's some logistical challenges when we're in shared spaces working, but in the same way that our offices are, some of them are really spread out and they're all kind of isolated to their workspace. And some of our offices are in one big, large shared room, and they're trying to operate with multiple phones and stuff going. But for the frustrations or for the logistical challenges where I got to handle this private call or whatever, most of the time it is pretty fun being in the group setting. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun in operations, get a lot done, but I enjoy it. I hope you do as well.
I do. And coming from the last job I was doing, it was the polar opposite, where I was by myself, were it not for meeting about a specific paper we're writing or subject we're researching. I'm by myself in front of a keyboard under a fluorescent light for 7.5, 8 hours. And that is not to disparage the work we're doing or the people I worked with. I love the people I work with. It was a great thing to do, but it was just not the same environment that you have there every day. And I worried about that a little bit too, as we moved out of the castle, that we would lose some of that, just that buzz, where people would come into our office so often, and we were just kind of like a passing through point for so many people if they were on their way to see somebody or talk to somebody about something else, just kind of check in. But I feel like even though we're now across the street, it's, people still pop in pretty often, and there's enough going on between the 5 of us to really keep that energy, pretty strong.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, cool. Jeff, I noticed on the way up today that you brought some baggage with you. You did not come empty-handed.
Oh, no.
What do you have over there?
Well, I've got a couple of things, actually. Let me give a plug, because this happens to be sitting here, too. This book is called Idea Flow.
Okay.
It is by Jeremy Utley and Perry Claiborne. So this is one that I just picked up at a bartender's bookstore in Barbersville, downtown Barbersville there. Just randomly. I didn't see it on a list. Didn't know what to expect. It's really fantastic. You guys have been reading some of it, I think, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of, here in the last month or two, seeped into a little bit of our culture. It's about generating good ideas as a muscle that needs repped, just like working out your bicep, right? And different ways to achieve better brainstorming sessions and stuff. Anyways, I'd recommend this to anybody. Good book.
It's an interesting read. What I like about the book is it gives you, especially early on in the book, it gives you permission to have some really crazy thoughts, to come up with new solutions. We fall into a trap, especially when we have new folks join the company. We fall into this trap of like, this is how we've always done it, or we're not, that's how we solve problems, is this way. And other people give ideas. We're like, oh, we've already done that and it didn't work, or whatever the thing, right? But this book really, it gives you permission to be as wild with it. It asks you to get very broad and to go deeper with it. It is. We've had some fun with it. Hopefully, you've enjoyed some of our idea flow sessions.
We've applied it to our daily work. I think we used it as a basis for figuring out how to hire somebody. So we have taken it and put it into practice. And something that relates to that, we've been reading Tools of Titans for our operations book club. We just started a couple months back, and one of the passages we just read this past week had to do with separating idea from execution, about how if you don't worry about the execution of an idea, you think more freely about ideas, in the sense of what's actually just possible, not about the constraints surrounding the idea. So that can lead you down a path of figuring out things that you might not have otherwise.
Yeah.
It's fun because when you have someone that is not familiar, and this would have been me a month ago, but when you have someone not familiar with idea flow and you start idea flowing with them in the room, they immediately start telling you, but
that's ridiculous.
This won't work.
Yeah,
you can't do that. That won't work. And you're like, shut up.
You're
start
breaking the flow.
Ideas. Yeah. It's really wild.
It's one of the things that we were talking about that this morning I really enjoy about the operations department as a whole, is that you've transcended that barrier to where you guys are now comfortable throwing out ideas, and more than just ideas, but just being really vulnerable and open and honest with your thoughts, emotions, whatever the thing is. And everybody, it makes for a really trusting environment and a really creative, collaborative environment. And that's hard to achieve. Well, so idea flow, it'll tell you and me are all hardwired throughout evolution, or whatever you want to shut down ideas. We're just designed that way. That's the kind of animal we are, and it's for good purpose. You can't go around all day long having crazy ideas. You'd probably get eaten by a bear or something like that. It's a good, healthy thing to not have that many ideas that are out there. But so if you want to have productive idea sessions about, let's say we're going to make a new logo for Village Caregiving, just stop thinking so much, grab a legal pad and just start writing. Do 10 of them. A toaster with arms, a house with a big chimney coming out and it says hello. Just start saying stuff. And the first 3 or 4 might be obvious things you've thought of. The next 3 or 4 might be just completely ridiculous and the worst thing you ever could. They're laughable. And then, though, the next 2 or 3, you might hit on something that you're like, that's actually really good. And that's the thing.
Yeah,
it's what a lot of the book is about, is overcoming, and that's a muscle that needs to be worked out, like we said. So one of the things for me is each night I journal some, and one of the sections that I commit to is that I write a poem every night. I'm no poet, and if you just sit there and stare at that section of it and you want to just make something really meaningful and beautiful and perfect, and it has to be just right, you'll sit there and stare at it for 20 minutes if you're not careful. So my rule is we're just going to start writing here. And it ends up taking like 45 seconds, and I go on to the next section. And sometimes, and it's not very often, I don't want to give a bad impression here because it's incorrect. Sometimes I'll look back at it, and I'm like, where did that come from? Like part of it was like something I dreamt the night before combined with something that's happening in life, and they go together, and it makes sense. And I'm like, man, that's actually, I'd have put that in a contest. But that's like one out of like 40 of them. You know what I mean?
Well, it's actually odd because Sarah Stevens came down to the studio today, and she brought your journal, and we're going to read.
No, that's password protected.
Some sonnets in there, some limericks.
What if we open this? You're like, what were you doing Thursday to write this book?
They're normally pretty trite. I feel like they're contrived and not very good, but sometimes you hit on something there, which is the point.
What do you have there?
So here's priorities. If you want to play a round of priorities,
I'm seeing some things getting unboxed here.
Yeah,
I'm seeing some
fish
shuffling
we
of things.
haven't had him have his priorities yet.
I think
Maybe you and I should try to
we could
guess
pivot
them.
and do that.
And then I've got another game for you guys. We'll get to that in just a minute.
Okay, you want me to do priorities?
Yeah, sure.
Will switch me seats.
Okay, that's fine. Scoot up a little bit. Get out of here.
I'll narrate for the audio version. They are switching seats.
Will has now sat down in Aaron's
exciting.
seat.
I am center stage.
Oh, I'm nervous.
Yeah, you better be.
Oh,
Yeah.
You feel the rush?
Oh yeah, the lights are brighter over here for
We
sure.
love that.
Did you watch Chandler's card trick yet?
He did it for us in the office.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Yes.
He sets a little hat out and people put money in it.
All right.
Yeah.
Pick 5 random cards out through there.
Let's go 1, 2, 3,
Picking 5 random cards. Okay, so while you're doing that, I'll explain the game.
5. Yep.
There's 5 different just things. It could be any random thing on earth on
Yeah.
these cards. Aaron has to rank it number 1, love it, to number 5, can't stand it.
Love it.
And then Will and I have to try to guess.
A lot of big stuff in here.
All right,
What
give
they
them
are.
to me, bro.
Let's
Lay
see.
them down there so I can see them.
Oh, okay. So I kind of
Yeah, I
read
can-
it and then lay it out.
Sure.
All right, we got free speech,
God.
Ooh, that's one that's up there.
sharing feelings,
Oh boy, sharing feelings.
universal health care,
Oh wow.
automated checkouts, and millennials.
You know what I love about Aaron Gustin? I bet you he has one.
There's one complete wild card in here.
Well, I was just gonna say a hot, steaming like broccoli, hot take on every one of these things.
Oh man, I'm sure he's got something on a few.
Universal health care. I don't think I've ever discussed this with him in my life, but I'll bet you he's got a lot of thoughts about it.
Things. So our goal is to guess his priorities to the best of our ability. Is that right?
Well, it's just love it to hate
Ranking.
it.
Right.
You don't need
So
to
what's
prioritize
his
it in your life.
Favorite thing to least favorite.
It's
and
just straight up how much he likes it or
then,
doesn't like it.
Okay.
Well, let's start doing some work. He's got to like free speech.
I mean, that's pretty universal.
Sharing feelings is probably a mixed bag. He's open to it, but it's not the most comfortable thing.
It's a
in the
very
world.
circumstantial thing. And, you know,
Universal health care. Where do you think he's going on that?
I don't know.
Universal
That's really
health
tough.
care.
I
I bet he's a reasonable. He's probably middle ground. He can see the pros and cons of both arguments for and against, right? I don't think he's going to have a super strong take one way or the other on it.
No.
I did visit Canada in the last 12 months.
It's true.
Oh, that seals the deal. We have
Automated
checkouts.
checkouts. Now that's something that I like a lot.
I
Does
mean,
Aaron
that-
like automated checkouts.
I would say it's got to be in the top 3, right?
Okay, think about this though. We know he's a pretty old school guy. He likes human interaction, and
That's
he worked
true.
at a gas station where
Well, that's true.
he was not automated. I'm thinking that has a bit of a bad taste in his mouth.
Okay.
But it still could be as high
I-
as number 2. I agree with you, but it's
I know, because some of these, I mean,
we can't just throw it up here.
yeah, a lot of like free speech is like everybody likes free speech. So what are we gonna, you know?
Yeah,
A lot of
millennials.
these though, yeah,
What does he think? I mean, he is a millennial.
right. That would be.
Are you a millennial? You're the next thing.
I think it's Gen Z. I don't know.
Is that right? I'm a millennial
I
too,
clearly
I think
think about it all
technically.
the time.
because I'm so young.
Yeah. I hear that's a recurring theme on this thing.
Do we agree free speech is number one?
Yeah.
Wait a second. What about like how the now Twitter debate? Is there too much free speech?
Oh,
Fake.
Aaron loves free speech. I mean,
Okay, we're going. Let's
He
leave it up
loves
there.
free
Let's leave it
speech.
up there. I'm thinking number two is.
shoot, man, I don't know.
I think it's automated checkouts because as much as he can like the people, he can also get real frustrated.
There's
with
a story
somebody
to tell.
and quickly
Yeah.
turn on them and
Yeah.
say, "This guy was just up there gabbing and gabbing. I'm trying to get my orange soda and my almond joy and get on down the road, and he just, you know what I mean? Where was the automated checkout?"
That sounds very specific.
We were in a gas station in Cambridge, Ohio, and I bought an orange soda and an almond joy, and I had to hear about it for the next hour.
Just of that combination of things.
Yeah, apparently Jeff is also a nutritionist.
How about that?
I'm not a nutritionist.
Put that
by
up
any
on my
means.
sign. I've now got diabetes, plaque psoriasis, and just in general nutrition,
Yeah.
dietitian type services.
But not an MD. It's very important.
No, not that.
Keep an eye on people who like the almond joy, though. I mean,
Well, we know he had soda.
if that was on this list, that would be my 5.
Almond Joy?
Yeah.
5? Oh, for
Yeah.
you?
Yes.
I was
yes.
gonna say you better think again.
Oh,
pal.
I know.
He's
I've heard.
Free speech is getting bumped
That's
down
what
a
I'm
notch.
saying. That's why free
If
speech has
Almond
to be.
Joy's
Yeah.
up here. What do you think is number 2? We got to get through this.
Yeah, you're right. I'm
Yeah.
gonna say throw checkouts at 2.
It's so much fun to talk about you.
I've noticed.
Yeah.
I'm going to need my seat back very soon.
Yeah.
Leave
was
it
really
here.
warm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Free speech, automated checkouts. We're down now to sharing feelings, universal health care, and millennials.
I mean that honestly might be the order because millennials has a connotation.
It does have a connotation.
Whether that's a good thing or not.
Was that spelled correctly? Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so.
Leave them like that? You want to lock it in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sharing feelings 3, universal health care 4, and millennials 5.
Yeah, universal healthcare is just complicated. That might, just
All right, so you have free speech as number 1.
Yeah, let's do it. Is that number 1?
Number 1 is free speech.
Yes. Come on, let's go.
Now,
That was
here's
e-
the
that was
reason
easy,
why.
though.
I'm
I
going to
mean-
sound like
Well, it
I'm
might be
like
the only one we get.
that's why I'm
rioting
scared.
capitals or something. It is not that. I just believe that people have a right to say things, and I would prefer people not be limited in what they say. I would rather than be able to
took it
say it
there.
and then people sort it out than someone to moderate speech. That's where I am on that.
Well,
Yeah.
I know this because every once in a while,
Oh, wow. Sit down. Everyone sit down.
it was a great speech.
you're ready to vote for him, aren't you?
This is why we have free speech right here.
Okay, number 2. What's your number 2?
Weirdly enough, I put universal health care.
Okay, I had a feeling.
Yeah,
There's
and
a
here's the
compassionate
reason
heart.
why. We have to fix. I don't even know that universal health care is the right answer. We have to fix the healthcare system somehow. Again, it's how we get there. I don't know, but
Wow, this is turning into a
We're starting a
stump
campaign
speech.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
number 3, I have shared feelings.
Okay, sharing feelings.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
doesn't do. That doesn't bother you at all. Maybe a little.
No, I'll talk about anything. Yeah,
You
it
really
doesn't-
are. You know what? I should have
Yeah,
put that up.
I would have put it higher. I like that. I like to know where people are on things. I think
Wait, we had that third.
Yeah, you had
We
it.
had the order of these
right,
two.
we got
Yeah,
two
yeah,
of
yeah,
them.
yeah. You're good so far. And then I had millennials as 4. Again, I'm going to get some criticism for this, but I just kind of rank that about the same as I do like astronomy signs. I'm not. It doesn't impact
Talking
my
about
life.
astrology.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't get any of it. I don't. The whole thing.
Well, I think
Okay.
that just picking your horoscope based on stars and a zodiac calendar is not the same as new technology in an era you were raised.
It's no more so than I'm born in September as I was born in 1985.
We
and
were
I
born at a
lumped
point when the
into-
smartphone came along.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm just saying it doesn't. I don't make decisions based on that. I don't know that I necessarily align with my millennial peers on many things.
Okay, man.
So yeah,
What a joy it is to moderate this. I mean, this is awesome.
we could have stayed on that topic for another
yeah.
30 minutes.
Now
Let's
here's
move.
going to be the hard one. I did put automated checkouts last,
Yeah.
although I almost exclusively use them
Yeah.
at grocery stores. And here's why. This is going to sound arrogant. I am generally better at checking out than the people that are professionally checking people out. But if there's a good one, I would prefer to use them than to use the automated system. But if you're bad at your job, I'm just going to do it myself.
You go to the store enough to where you know, like, that person's checking out.
100%. I go to Kroger
Aisle.
every Sunday morning, and if certain people are there, I'll check out. If not, I'll run through self-checkout.
So I got to refill my parking meter real quick.
It took you
Yeah,
guys a while
I paid
to
mine
do
in
that.
quarters, so I'll probably have some, some ticket out there. When I get out there.
Wait a second. So you use
them.
you use the automated checkout, but you do it with disgust.
Yeah, and here's why. I'm assuming that now, like, Kroger has gotten down to not prioritizing good checkout people because they're trying to push you towards self-checkout. So what we have left now in the industry, not great. So I just do it myself. Plus, the thing doesn't really weigh that well on the self-checkout side. The technology even needs to get better. We need to go back to cashiers.
Let me tell you about this, though. Think that right now, if you took those off the face of the earth and
Yeah.
you're back in the 80s and 90s when you are just 7 deep in this line and you've got one item, they're pretty handy sometimes.
Yeah,
aren't
the
they?
express
I was gonna
checkout
say,
lane. And I do think there should be penalties, physical harm, if you get into the 5 and under line and you have more than 5 items. There should be some type of punishment in the building.
What is your threshold for
applause came
using
for
the
that,
self-checkout?
Like how much am I
how many
willing to go
items-
in with?
Yeah.
If it's a good self-checkout system, I'm willing to go. I'll do a full buggy because I know I'm good at it.
I guess that's the real question. It's
Yeah,
like, how
but
good or
people
how
go over
fast
there.
Are you?
Yeah, they'll be fumbling around over there. I'm
Oh,
like,
I
have you
know.
ever done self-checkout? How are you so bad at this?
See someone
Go
with
to the
like
regular
8
people line.
cases of Pepsi, and you're
Yeah.
like,
If you're not a millennial, get out of here.
You know, one thing I do agree with you about is at the Kroger that we do our normal grocery shopping at
Yeah.
in Barbersville, there are some all-stars that run you through the line.
Yeah.
And so I was with Sarah just the other day. There was 2 or 3 that were about the same. One of them was a little bit longer. I said, no, we want this one.
Yeah.
She's just kind of just like, trust me, that lady up there is an absolute machine. And we zoomed through there.
Yeah. There is something when we take the kids, which isn't often, but when we take the kids grocery shopping, I like for them to get down at the end there and start throwing stuff in bags. Like I have that as a childhood memory. Mm-hmm. We went to the grocery store, we helped bag groceries.
God, I loved going to the grocery store as a kid.
Yeah, same.
I mean, I could have spent the whole day in the cereal aisle alone.
Yeah.
I was the other way on that.
You didn't like going to the grocery store?
No, my parents just knew everyone, so we
Gen
could stop. We'd be
Zers.
there like 2 hours. It was a whole thing.
I'm all in on these
What are you
names.
trying to say? My parents didn't know anybody?
I mean,
Let me ask you about this game. This is one that I don't even know where we're at on time. We'll edit out some of the nonsense I was talking about. Okay, we'll keep it quick. It's called, I thought this was good for you guys. You work together a lot and your buddies. Let's get closer.
Oh, yeah. Let's scoot these chairs in, fellas. What is this game?
There's 3 categories. I've actually never played this one. I have no idea what's going on. But close, closer, and closest.
Oh.
Let's first start. You're just a little close.
okay,
Then we're going to inch on into really some intimate territory.
let's go.
Oh, this is dumb.
Good start.
This is really not good.
What?
Hold on. Okay, this is not bad. You go first about Aaron. What is his superpower? We're short on time, so you're going to have to condense this.
Lightning round.
Well, first I gotta put it all together in my head. That's the hard part.
You got to think of one.
He
Put it
is
together.
he is an excellent ambassador for what this company is, and anything I think he cares about. I think he demonstrates that exceptionally. I think, and he can get people to buy into that similarly, and get him to see what he sees, to just really, chase a goal or whatever improvement or excellence, whatever it is. He can get people to see the bigger picture of why. And that was something he even talked about at the annual meeting is, the whys can drive you through the house.
That is correct.
Yes.
Ding, ding, ding. I'm going to be the judge of this. There's right and wrongs.
Will's superpower is running speed. You're percentage-wise, you said one day that you are in the top, of all humans?
Yeah, I talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has an exceptional. You're faster though than most average humans.
He's faster than 99.9%.
I was trying to lead him to the answer. I couldn't remember the exact statistic that he gave, but I was making fun of him one day, and he drops the truth bomb on me. That was like,
I'm about to X you out, give you a...
What? No, it's true though. Mine's actually documented. You can go to tristateracer.com and prove what I said. No one's let me be a brand ambassador except you.
TriStateRacer.com.
What about his intellectual process? That's pretty funny. Yeah, and I like it too. What about his intellectual processing power?
He's ridiculously smart. Yeah, I mean, he went to Chuck Yeager School of Learning.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
It's overrated.
So the running is more of a superpower, though, in your opinion?
It's a superpower. Yes, I don't know how much.
That's 1-0.
They both take the same amount of time to get good at. So
How do you win at this game?
Next.
I know how. We can go for 2 for 2 here.
Yeah, your name's Will.
This is getting better.
That's how you win.
I'm going to put out a bunch. Oh my gosh, this is great.
Uh-oh.
This time you go first.
Okay.
Do you feel like you and Will spend enough time together?
No.
Say more.
Yeah, I mean, we get to work together and stuff, but like when we traveled to Chicago, we had a great time. Will is a great travel companion. You get this guy a cup of pretzel nuggets from Aunt Annie's, it'll change his life. He's a great travel companion. I never have been around Will and been like, geez, is it about time to leave? So if I ever reach that threshold, I'll assume I've spent enough time with Will, but I'm nowhere near that.
He's a great hang.
Yeah, he is.
Ding, ding, ding.
Hey,
That's correct.
hey,
1
thanks.
point for Aaron
This is
Gustin.
the
It's
weirdest
1-1.
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel like you and Aaron spend enough time together?
No, I'd also say no.
God, you were
And-
teed up to just go yes.
Yeah, I know.
I would have
know.
instantly given
well,
you
I
a
was
point.
saving it for the grand finale. I mean, we still got the red question to just
True.
really
Okay.
zigzag off
Sorry.
the path. No, I agree with Aaron's take on things we got to do traveling to Chicago. Just day to day in the office. We're together as a group a lot, and where I work with Chris, I feel like I get a lot of one-on-one conversations, things like that. But I really enjoy talking to people one-on-one. I feel like it's a little bit easier to share more of yourself in that format. And I think with Aaron and with most people at this company, those opportunities are valuable. And I don't feel like we get to do it enough. And maybe it's just about being intentional about it. But
Let's move your desk into my office when we get back.
Okay. We'll get right on that.
Will, I'm going to ask you first.
Okay.
Okay.
What do you feel is the best way to get Aaron to do something that he doesn't want to do?
God, I'm a nervous wreck.
Yeah, I mean, that's heavy.
I am so glad that I'm not
I-
playing
I-
this game right now.
Yeah.
That got hard.
I think you just, you pop into Sheets, get them an Almond Joy and a orange soda, and you're on your way. It's pretty simple, really. It's I know we're aiming for sincerity here, so I'm really trying to think.
I almost X'd you right there.
I know that's how you win the game, right? You're getting an honest, answer out of it. So.
Well, I was actually thinking, no joke, would that work with him?
It would not hurt.
just some
Right.
conditions.
So I was
Like,
like, it's not the worst idea I've ever heard.
We could idea flow that, but 100% it would work.
It's a real conditioning
I'm
thing.
flipped, and you might ding, ding, ding. That's a point.
This is.
But it's only a half a point. You're sitting at 2.5.
I maybe
Okay.
just I don't. I honestly don't know if I have a real answer to that, because I don't know that the time I've spent with him, he's even demonstrated that there's things he doesn't want to do. I think he just approaches things with a bigger picture mentality about things, that he can see the purpose of what he's doing. If he
So
is
you're
doing it.
basically saying that there is no answer because it's impossible.
Okay.
You just admitted you don't have an answer.
You
That's an
lost
X.
your half a point.
Your half point's gone.
Okay.
You're sitting 2. Aaron Gus, and this is for
Yeah.
the tie.
Okay.
You need to get this one.
Yeah, I want to get this one. Well, it's a little.
What's the best way to get Will to do something he doesn't want to do?
Well, I'm cheating a little bit because I've had to ask him to do a couple things that he hasn't necessarily wanted to lean into.
And
right?
you found the best way to do that was?
I tell him that I recognize this is not something that you're probably wanting to do. And I doubt when you were in college, you thought I would be doing this thing, but this is the role that we're in. And it's the exact same speech that you've given me. Like, I know these are hard conversations. No one likes to have these, but you're doing them a disservice if you don't. So you got to go in there and make the phone call, bro. And he goes in there and he makes the phone call, and you're like, oh, God, I hope this doesn't do harm down the road. It didn't for me, but I hope it doesn't for him. And he has always accepted the challenge of the project, and that to his credit. So just being very honest and telling him, I recognize this is not in your wheelhouse, but please do it.
I'm going to accept that answer. That's a ding, 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 ding. We end in a 2-2 draw. We'll finish this up later.
Does that happen a lot?
No, this is the first time we've ever done anything like this.
Yeah.
What did I do? I mean,
I don't know. It was when we switched seats, I think, is when things went sideways.
We can leave all that part in.
When Jeff introduced this witchcraft of a game.
Yeah, this may not be it.
You're going to get us sued. This is a great game. And it provoked a lot of good discussion, didn't it?
Yeah,
It
no,
did.
It's a great game.
It's a great
man.
game.
Yeah.
A great podcast game. I'm not.
No, it was fantastic. I think that we definitely have a deeper connection because of that. We learned some stuff about each other today. So,
Sure.
Well, Will, here you have it. You survived another round of the podcast, buddy.
Whew.
Yeah, you've ran the course, and we've made it to the end here, man.
Well, I'm glad.
Yeah, you've got something to drink. Would you like to do a cheers with us?
Yeah, sure. Cheers.
Well, here we go.
Cheers, guys.
Jeff, cheers.
Cheers. Thank you, Will.
Yeah.
Thanks, Aaron.
Yeah.